Hey, welcome back to the Secret Underground Lair. Continuing on with our electronic control of the speed for the Worktable Sawmill. I am looking at mounting all the electronics on a little board that will then be mounted underneath the Worktable, just kind of sitting in here so that I can control it without getting in the way of anything on top, and it'll also keep all these electronics out of the way of some dust. So I'm mounting the speed control unit and the power supply onto this board. I'm going to cut out a hole in the middle there, into which I will mount this little panel to hold these electronic controls, the speed control, the display, and the power direction switch. So I'm going to make that out of a little piece of metal that I have cast off. And I have marked out on the right there, that's the hole for the power switch, then the hole for the display, and then a round hole there for the speed control. So, electronics and panel, that's today's adventure. Start on this little control panel by using my angle grinder with a cutoff disc, and I'm going to cut out this piece here, and then I'll have a smaller piece that I can work with, and I'll be using my Dremel tool to cut out those little squares and a drill to cut out the hole for the speed control dial. So there's a rough blank for the panel. Nothing magical about these dimensions or anything, it's just, about that big. So I'm going to trim this up a little bit, clean up the edges from the rough cut of the wheel, and then I'll get my Dremel tool and we'll cut these out. Okay, I got the Dremel out, so I'm just going to be making a cut here, here, and here. And then I'll do the same on this piece down here. That piece is a little toasty. That's our square cutout for the display. I'll probably have to adjust that a little wee bit, but that's okay. I'll cut out the square for, or actually that's the power switch. I'll cut out the hole for the display. I'm going to drill a 1/4 inch hole for the control for the dial. just going to drill a pilot hole and then a 1/4 inch hole, actually 17/64, so I'm just going one bigger than a 1/4. Be back in a sec. Use the center punch just to get an indent there, drilling a pilot hole. And now we'll go up to 17/64. I'll just do a little bit of cleanup on the back side of this, and then we'll test fit our pieces. So quick test fit. Our display is going to slip in there. That'll be just fine. That's going to be held in place with some hot glue. Our little push switch is going to go through that hole. That'll fit in. That looks like that's going to fit just fine. I won't put it in all the way because I want to do a little bit more cleanup on this and figure out the mounting on here. And our dial, our speed dial, that hole is just slightly too small to accommodate the thread. So I'm going to drill this out a little bit bigger. I'll be right back. Okay, having drilled that hole out to 19/64, it is a perfect fit. I'm very happy with that. So I'm going to drill 2 more holes in this, small holes here to accommodate screws that can be used then to screw this into the surface of this board that we're making. And I will probably touch this up with a little bit of paint to get it cleaned up. And we have a surface for mounting our controls. Then we can cut out this, get this board to the right size, and mount all the electronics. All right, I have squared up our piece, cleaned up our piece a little bit, done some rough sanding on it. I'm going to spray paint this black so it'll be nice and clean. Cut this piece down to size, and I have marked out on here where I want to cut out a hole for this to fit in. So I'm going to go drill 4 holes and then use my jigsaw and cut that out. Nothing particularly fancy here. I'm just using a 7/16 inch spade bit. And I'm just going to cut out, drill a hole in these 4 corners, roughly corners, and then come back with the jigsaw. And don't worry, there is a spoil board underneath here. Okay, that gives me something to penetrate with the jigsaw. Lets me get in the corners and spin the saw around easily. Just another instance here where a Ryobi device meets a rigid attachment. So a little jigsaw working on the oscillating saw. This thing works really well. Now I need a better place to cut this, so bear with me a minute. So I'm coming through the webbing on the table saw, but I've got the board clamped, so I'm okay here, but don't panic. And there's our hole for the controls. Okay, it is a new day. We have the electronics mounted now on a little board here. So got the on-off direction switch, speed indicator, and the I'll call it the throttle. Motor mounted. I now have a bolt running through here So the bolt goes through there, and that holds this motor in place. And that has eliminated a substantial amount of the wobble that you may have seen in the last video, where this motor would move a little bit. So much more confident in that. And I've put on a short log under the sawmill, and we'll let's see how this goes. I believe this is an oak log. Might be maple or ash, but I believe it is oak. But we'll give it a cut and see what it looks like. Just connected the dust collector, brought the blade of the saw up close to the log. I'm going to put you on time lapse as we go through this first cut. So that cut went very well. Did a real nice even job all the way through. Here's the result of that cut. Just perfectly flat all the way down. Not oak. Looks like we might be dealing with some maple. It's much lighter than oak. Maybe it's ash, actually. Anyway, I'll take another slice off this and we'll see what we get with it. I'm going to go 3/4 of an inch on this one. I won't do 1-inch slabs. I'm going to cut some 3/4 inch material out of this. I'm kind of thinking this might be good for things like drawer sides and drawer bottoms and that kind of thing. So I won't be trying to get anything really super thick out of this. Okay, let me reset and we'll take another slice. So here's our second slice, a little 3/4 inch slab. Just really nice and straight and true. Very pleased with the cut on that. But I'm interested, I need your opinion here. What am I dealing with? It's an open grain, not too hard. Big knot here you can see. Yeah, curious to know what this is. I'm pretty sure it's not oak, but don't know what it is. But happy with the way the machine is cutting. I was running that through the mill at about 3/4 speed, so I'll call it 75. I'll have to eventually measure how many, what that represents in terms of inches per minute. But it just seems to cut through there without any trouble at all. It worked really well. It's nice to be able to stand back and just watch it go and know it's going so consistently. So very pleased with the results that we have here. I'll continue slicing up this log. I'm so excited about slicing up this log here, I forgot to turn the camera on for this slice. And of course something happened to the saw as we were going through here. So the threaded rod support, the lead screw support that I have on the carriage is a simple piece of PLA wide enough to hold the capture nut, which is a 2-inch coupling nut. And that coupling nut managed to poke itself out of the holder. Now what I have been doing to hold it in place temporarily is I have a couple brackets that I have built that I have been putting on that bracket, kind of like so. It doesn't show up very well. So just like that. And I have a clamp running, holding those two brackets in place to keep the capture nut, that 2-inch coupling nut, within the bracket. That's been working reasonably well for this testing. but obviously not a long-term solution. The long-term solution will be to make this out of metal and slice the capture nut in half so that I can simply release the capture nut and roll the carriage back and then clamp the capture nut back on again. So this is a temporary measure that I have in place, subject to the whims of temporary, fixes. So I'm going to set this back in here, put the clamp back on it, and continue with the slicing up of this log. This is the next piece that needs some modification. So here's another slice off that log. We're getting into the heartwood, and I wet the log so you can see the grain a little bit better. Boy, I'm really curious about what this wood is. Very interesting heartwood in it. If you have any ideas, let me know. What is this wood? A sample of the bark. Well, not the bark, but the outside of the log. This could be something pretty interesting. So here's the remainder of the log on the sawmill. Got a few more slabs to cut. This is about a 12-inch wide log. So I'm giving the mill a good run for the money. This tree, or this log, came from north central Ontario, around the Collingwood, Ontario, Canada. So just the south shore of Georgian Bay on Lake Huron. So yeah, any ideas on what that might be? I'd appreciate hearing from you. Leave a comment if you recognize the wood. Couple little adjustments to make, but overall, again, the motor drive assembly is just working like a charm. It's doing exactly what I want to do. Now I can focus some attention on the coupling nut here and the bracket holding that in place. Get away from the clamp. But I'll be noodling that in my head for a little while. I'm feeling confident enough that I'm going to take off the crank. Yeah, I'm very happy with how that's worked out. So I'll call that a video for today. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. And there's lots more wood to mill yet. See you on the next video.